Hey guys, it's Adam from Premium Poker Tools, and in this video I want to show you how you can use the hit calculator to study spots where you want to try to bluff. So I got this hand here, and we're going to see if we have a profitable river bluff. So in this hand, we open 6 of diamonds, 4 of diamonds from the button. Our opponent calls from the small blind, and we go heads up to the flop. And the flop comes 10 of spades, 8 of spades, 5 of hearts. It goes check, bet, call. Turn comes a 2 of hearts. It goes check, bet, call. And now the river is a king of diamonds. So, we've bet the flop and the turn. We've 2-barreled into our opponent, and he called us both times. So now we have this river spot where we want to see if we can profitably fire this third barrel and get them to fold. So let's use the hit calculator to analyze this hand. So I'm going to start off by entering in our cards and the board cards. So we have 6 of diamonds, 4 of diamonds, and the board comes 10 of spades, 8 of spades, 5 of hearts, and then the turn comes 2 of hearts. And then the river is a king of diamonds. So now we don't need this anymore. I'm going to maximize this screen. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna enter in our opponent's range for each street. So pre-flop, we open from the button and they call. So what kind of range are they on? I'm gonna kind of eyeball it, make something up. We're going to assume that this is like a small stakes game, so people are generally kind of loose, passive. We're going to say that they're only 3-betting queens plus and ace king. I mean, from the small blinds, their range in theory could be a little wider. Maybe let's add some of this. Maybe let's add a couple more aces. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead with this kind of a range for our opponent calling from the small blinds. Okay, so this is the range that I'm going to assign them pre-flop. So now let's move on to the flop, turn, and river. And let's see, what do we think that they have after each street? And sorry, I misspoke. The river is a different question. So let's just ask ourselves, what do we think they have after the flop and then after the turn? So on the flop, the board comes 10 of spades, 8 of spades, 5 of hearts. And it goes check, bet, call. So what do we think that they're calling with? Actually, I'm just going to simulate. Okay. So flop comes, what do we think they're calling with on this 10, 8, 5 board? So by default, all of this stuff, top pair, over pair, pocket pair, under top pair, so pocket nines, middle pairs, all of this is already checked off, and I agree with that. I think that they're going to be continuing with all of these hands, same with flush draws and open-ended straight draws. But I want to ask myself if they're continuing even more widely. And on this board, 10, 8, 5, it's kind of hard for, us to hit or anyone to hit. So I think with their weak pairs, I think they're gonna continue for at least one street. So I'm gonna check off the weak pairs. Gut shots, I'm not sure if they're continuing with all of their gut shots. So I'm gonna go over here to the combos, and I'm gonna say when they have a gut shot with 2 overcards, so queen, jack, I think they're continuing. So I'm going to check this off. And a gut shot with 1 overcard, even queen 9 and jack 7 suited, I'm going to check that off as well. So by doing this, I'm saying I don't think they're continuing with all their gut shots, but I think they're continuing with the gut shots that make these combos. What else? So weak pair, flush draw, 8 out. So these are all checked, so we don't need to bother over here. Are they continuing more widely? What about with 2 overcards? I'm gonna say that like the stronger two overcard hands, maybe ace queen, ace jack. I'm gonna say that they continue with all of those combos, but they might release king queen offsuit, king jack offsuit, and who knows? Maybe they're calling with these hands, but for now, this is what I'm gonna go with for the range that they're continuing with on the flop. So now we're gonna move on to the range on the turn. So the turn comes at 2 of hearts. So now we're going to go to this area and we're going to simulate again. And now we're going to ask ourselves, what do we think that they're continuing with on the turn? So the turn action when check, bet, call. So the turn, I agree that they're still continuing with overpairs, top pair, top kicker, top pair, weak kicker, pocket pair, under top pair. I even will say I think they're going to continue with a lot of their second pair hands. So, any 8, 9, 8, they'll continue. But their weak hands, I'm going to agree and say I think that they're going to release a lot of them to our second barrel. Pocket 7s, pocket 6s, pocket 4s. These are pretty weak hands and they only have 2 outs, so it's not like they have a lot of equity. Well, you know what? Maybe we can say that when they have a weak pair with an overcard, so here they have a lot more equity because they have outs. They can hit their ace, or they have 2 outs to hit another 5. So I'm gonna say that they continue with these weak pairs, but they release their other weak pairs. So some weak pairs they're continuing with, and some they're not. And this looks like a pretty good range of hands that they might continue with on the turn. So now let's kind of move on to the most important part. The most important question is, what are they going to, let's say that we bet the river, what are they going to continue with on the river? So we can see if they're continuing with only like top pair and better, that's only 20% of hands. So we're getting folds 80% of the time. So that's insane. So that, that's amazing. If they call with like their pocket jacks, hurts us a little bit, but we're still getting 75% folds. So that's still insane. Okay, what if they're continuing with the second pair, What if they call with their 10s? Well, now, now we're getting folds about 48% of the time. So now it depends a little bit on the size that we go with. But I think that if we go 2/3 or 3/4 pot, we're going to get these weak pairs to fold out, especially because the pot's big now. And this is our third barrel. We raised pre-flop and fired 3 barrels. So I think, even a 2/3 pot bet is going to get them to fold their weak pairs. So we still have, more than enough fold equity to justify firing this third barrel. I don't think they're going to continue even to probably a half pot bet with a weak pair. If they're sitting here with Jack 8 and we fire our third barrel, what are they going to do? What if they have, 5-4, 7-5, 6-5, 8-7, ace-5? All these hands are weak, and I don't think that they're calling with an 8 or a 5 to our third barrel. So if we bet half pot, 2/3 pot or something, we still have, way more fold equity than we need for this bluff to work. And I'm not even sure if they're going to continue with all of their second pair hands. 10-7, that's a little bit weak facing a third barrel. 10-8 makes 2 pair, but 10-9 is pretty weak. Even, Jack 10 is a little weak to call down with, 3 streets. They might even fold all of their second pair hands, maybe. a better opponent might realize that um, we have a lot of bluffs in our range, especially because it's kind of draw heavy. We open from the button. This is a good barreling card on the river, so we do have a lot of bluffs in our range, so they might call down more widely. But a lot of other players are more the type to kind of play their hand instead of playing their opponent. So when they're sitting here with Jack 10, they might think like this hand isn't worth 3 streets of value. Even, Ace 10, they think, oh, that's not worth 3 streets, I'm going to get out of here. So I was kind of conservative, and I was assuming, let's give them credit for calling with their stronger pairs of 10s, their stronger second pairs. And in that case, we are getting 60% folds. So I think that we've seen that we're getting a lot of folds on this river. And I want to talk about the reason why. So I think that there's kind of 2 reasons why. And I'm going to go back to the turn for a second. So one of the reasons is that they have a lot of drawing hands. There's, 2 possible flush draws. There's straight draws. There's double gut shots. We said they... Oh, I thought we said on the turn that they're calling with, like, these gut shots over here. Okay. Well, anyway, I might have forgot to check this off, but on the turn, I would say that they're calling with Queen Jack, 2 overcards and a gut shot with, the 1 overcard gut shot hands as well. I guess I only checked it off on the flop. Let's see how that changes things. Oh, I guess it didn't really, oh yeah, let's see. So yeah, we're still getting tons and tons of folds. So now they're folding out even more hands. Okay, so now let's go back to the turn. So the point that I'm trying to make is that they have a lot of draws. On this board, when they call, they have a lot of draws. So, people are willing to see a river with their draws a lot of the times. They're probably even too loose when they have a draw. Spots where they should be folding, but they're calling. But the thing is, a lot of those draws are going to miss on the river. So when they're calling the flop and the turn with all these draws, they're going to release a lot of them on the river. So I think that's a big reason why we're getting so many folds on the river. So you can see on the turn 22% flush draws, 5% open-ended straight draws. We have all of these gut shots, 8% gut shots. So these are all hands that we're folding out on the river. And this already, 22, 5, 27, another 8, about 35. I mean, you can't just add them up. That's not how probability works, but, we're getting approximately maybe 30% of these draws are going to miss. Sorry, 30% of these the turn range are draws that are going to, miss the river. So that's kind of what I'm trying to say, is that on the turn, they have a lot of draws, and then the river comes, and all of those draws miss. And, the river is a king, so that might scare you. You might think, oh, they could be drawing with, king, queen, or something like that. Now they hit. But don't be afraid of that, because you can see they only have top pair a very small amount of the time. All of these kings, this only consists of about 3% or 4% of their hands. What else did I want to say about this hand? Even so, another thing, the king, it did allow them to hit some top pair hands, but it's also going to scare away all of these weaker things. So if this was like a 3 or something, if the river came a 3, they're probably going to call with a lot of their 10s. But because it's a king, now we can get some 10s to fold. Now we can get a lot of, probably all the 8s to fold. Whereas, again, if this was a 3, we might get a call with like ace 8 on the river. So the fact that it's this river card, all of the draws missed, and it's an overcard, that's going to make bluffing a pretty good idea. So I think that's all I wanted to say about this hand. Again, the takeaways. Oh, sorry, one more thing. One more thing is that we have 6-4 of diamonds. If we had like ace 4 of diamonds, we're probably going to beat all of their draws because our ace high is probably going to, beat a lot of them. So when we have showdown value with our ace, we can maybe consider checking the river and winning the pot with our ace high. But here, we only have 6 high, so there's no way that we win this pot without bluffing. So that's another factor, is that we have basically no showdown value. Okay, so yeah, that's what I wanted to say about this hand. I wanted to let you guys know, like, when all of the draws miss on the river, you can bluff. When the river comes an overcard, that's usually a good thing to bluff. And when you don't have showdown value, you want to err on the side of bluffing. So I wanted to talk about those things, and I also wanted to show you how you can use the hit calculator to study hands. And hopefully this made sense. It's kind of an alternative to the Should You Bluff page. So you can use this page to kind of do the same thing. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. I'm still learning the game too, so I'd love to get some feedback from you guys. And if you have any feedback on this tool, the hit calculator, definitely let me know. My email is contact@premiumpokertools.com. And thank you guys for watching the video. Have a good day.